In this episode of My Cat's Tale, we catch up with Malcolm over Christmas.
We nearly lost him back in the summer. He was hit by a car. He was in a bad way. I don't think there's a day that goes by. I think, I can't believe you're still here, isn't it wonderful? If there's one thing Malcolm doesn't like, it's being woken up when he's in a nice, cosy sleep. Oh, Malcolm, sorry, it's because this chair is next to the radiator. And he was all asleep and cuddled up and happy, and I've just moved him to sit down, and he really is not happy with me. Okay, all right, I'm sorry. Oh dear. Really not happy boy.
Welcome to Christmas!
Hey, Merry Christmas! Oh dear, if there's one thing Malcolm doesn't like, it's being woken up when he's in a nice, cosy sleep, I'm afraid.
But what is good is to hear Malcolm.
Yes, he's full of beans. He's full of life. He's very healthy, very happy. He's annoyed now because I've just moved him, but yeah, he's really doing very, very well.
It is a delight to welcome you back to the podcast, Caroline, with one of the most unconventional starts we've had this year, and it is a delight to hear Malcolm. Our long-time listeners will be now just having a nice little holiday smile and cheer to themselves. We're recording this just before Christmas. You should hear this between Christmas and New Year. But for those new to the podcast, and there are many of you, thank you, Malcolm might not have seen this Christmas. And that's not a dramatic overselling there, is it?
No, definitely not. No, I mean, all our followers will know that we nearly lost him back in the summer. He was hit by a car, and the car didn't stop. We don't know. I like to think that they didn't realise they'd hit him, but he was found in the road and he was in a bad way. He'd broken his jaw in several places and it was dislocated, and he'd dislocated his hip as well. So yeah, he was in a bad way. And because of the jaw, that was the worst thing, because he had to have his jaw wired for 8 weeks, which proved so very difficult. He had to be fed through a tube, but then he pulled the tube out and they couldn't get the tube back in. So yeah, by the end of the time, I mean, they did take the wire off a week early to try and help out, but he was unwell by that point as well, because they hadn't been able to get enough nutrition into him, and his kidneys were failing. Well, they said his kidneys were failing. He's got more than 9 lives, this cat, honestly. So after all of that, we thought we were going to lose him with his kidneys, and we had a terrifying night where we really thought that was it after everything we'd been through. But then, you know, he rallied again. Unbelievable. And I had one night in floods of tears thinking that was it. Phoned the vet the next morning, and he'd rallied. I mean, I was in floods of tears, even ringing the vet, and she said, oh no, he's really bright this morning. And I nearly fell off my chair. I couldn't believe it. He's just incredible. He's the most incredible cat.
We talked a lot in the previous podcast about his injuries, about that sort of immediate healthcare, but also about the community and the followers and the support and the love that the whole household had. And I just wanted to come back at Christmas and just check everything was okay, and it is, and he's, as we can hear, he's as angry as you would expect. But also to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about convalescence in a cat, because cats rarely show pain. They try not to show any injuries and everything. So when Malcolm has such a long recovery, what's it been like dealing with a post-injury cat?
Yeah, I'm really glad you're asking that, actually, because it's been tough and challenging. I mean, rewarding as well, obviously, because we are just delighted every day we still have him. You know, I don't think there's a day that goes by I don't look at him and think, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're still here, isn't it wonderful? But it's also challenging, and obviously we're playing that out in a public arena in a way because of his popularity and our number of followers, and because, as you know, he's only here because of those amazing followers who all helped us to pay the extortionate extortionate vet bills that it accumulated, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. So we feel that we owe them. We do owe them, and Malcolm owes them. So it's important that I keep everybody up to date, and I try very hard to keep on top of interacting with everybody. Since his accident, he has gained so many more followers who have sort of found him through because of the accident, and there are a lot more comments and likes and messages every day than there used to be, which is just wonderful. But I feel guilty. I have a terrible sense of guilt that I can't always reply to everybody. Well, I can't reply to everybody individually every day. I just can't do it. And everybody wants to know how he's doing. And people ask questions. And again, all of that is wonderful. And I just hope that people don't think that I'm not replying individually to everyone because I don't care enough or something, because we care deeply about everybody, all of our followers. And I wish I didn't have to work so that I could sit every day and just, talk to everybody. But lots of things have been thrown up in the air in this public arena about how you should look after a cat. The main thing that people are concerned about is whether he's going to go back outside or not. And I welcome the chance to sort of discuss that really in public, because it's a big deal. It's an important one, and everybody has an opinion on it. Well, I say everybody, not everybody, that's not true, but a lot of people have an opinion on it. And there's a big discrepancy between our American friends and people who live over here in the UK, because in my understanding, I'm not an expert, of course, but in my understanding of it is that in America, cats generally don't go out because there are lots of there are wild animals that kill them and things. As I say, I don't know exactly, but it's far more rare for cats to be outdoor cats. So initially, when I first started sharing Malcolm's journey on Twitter, Americans were horrified that he was going outdoors. Get that cat back in immediately. He's in danger. And I used to explain, no, we don't have, I think it's coyotes or other things that, that kill cats over there. We don't have that. It's okay. He's safe. He's okay. And he's been an outdoor cat for 14 years, and before that, he lived on the streets for a bit before we rescued him. So he was very much an outdoor cat. So suddenly people saying, well, now you can't let him back out now. Obviously he was hit by a car. He can't go back outside now. And this has troubled us greatly. Not just because obviously people are saying that, but because for us, we don't, if I had my way, I'd never let him out of my sight, ever again. But it has to come down to what's best for him. I couldn't bear for him to be miserable and unhappy, because he was very much an outdoor cat. He loved the outdoors. So we spoke to his consultant about it when he had his special, emergency operations and follow up and everything. We discussed it. Do you think he should go out? And the specialist, he said very much, if he wants to go out, yes, you should let him out. You mustn't let your fears interfere with his life. This is his life and his happiness, So there was that to bear in mind. But then there were some people on Twitter saying, if you let him out again, I won't be able to follow you anymore because I'll be too worried, which I understand. I totally get that. I was terrified of letting him out. And we have had this debate going round and round, myself and my husband. Everyone's had a say. So what's happened so far is that I think we decided if he was desperate, if he was like he used to before his accident, he would scratch at that door until we let him out. He would not rest, It
was very clear, this is the time I want to go out now.
Yes, let me out now. And he would not stop, So we sort of agreed that if he did that, we would have to let him out because we couldn't
Malcolm
let him.
is clearly saying what he wants.
Yes, exactly, exactly. What's interesting is that he hasn't done that, but he does ask every day. Every day he has a little bit of a scratch at the door and looks at us, and we say, "No, not now, Malcolm," and he leaves it, and he doesn't pursue it. So he hasn't. I say he hasn't been out. A couple of times he went into the garden. This was in the early days when he was early recuperating. He went into the garden and we were there with him, standing around him, watching him. Um, and that was okay. He was having a sniff around. He sat in the grass for a bit. This is when the weather was warmer. But then one day when he did that, he leapt up onto the fence and into our next door neighbour's garden. And my husband rushed around to retrieve him, brought him back, and then that was it. That was the last time he went out. So I mean, we still talk about it almost on a daily basis. My husband's more in favour of him having his freedom, and I'm more in favour of him staying in because I'm scared, and I feel guilty about that, you know.
But that's caring, isn't it? I completely get guilt, and I don't think anybody would disagree with it. But also, that guilt can only come from a place of love.
Oh yes, I mean, you know. But then my husband loves him so much. I think I said last time he loves him more than he loves me. We joke about this. He adores Malcolm, but he still thinks, you know. I mean, he's scared too, but he still thinks, you know, we should let him out, I think.
But the final decision has been given to Malcolm.
Well, yes, he does ask. He does ask.
Is he asking, or is he just checking? Is he sort of, well, I don't know. Okay, right there.
I don't know. I mean, it does surprise me that he doesn't ask more. As I say, he knows his own mind, does Malcolm, and he lets us know. And he before he would not be kept in. I mean, he would not be kept in. But
so do you think that's part of his coming to terms with what happened? Because there's still going to be aches and pains and not cracked bones, but just cricks and bones and creaks and everything that are going through his body right now.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we haven't had to have a follow up at the vets apart from, you know, once he had the all clear with his kidneys. That's been it really. So I'm not entirely sure how many aches and pains he has. I mean, we've got to the point now, he had a bit of a wobble, a bit of a swagger for a while with his hip, you know, but I don't really see that anymore either. I don't really see any indication of him being in any pain, or he's not slower than he used to be. He dashes around the house. If anything, he's more playful in the house because he's not going out. He's ripping up my stair carpet. Oh my goodness me, the carpet is really suffering since he was an indoor cat. But yeah, you wouldn't know now that he'd had this terrible incident.
There is one thing that has big change that everybody can see. I'm looking at that Twitter account, and somebody's been added to that Twitter account.
Yeah. Yes. Well, again, I don't do anything without throwing it open to the followers first. But yes, there was a general feeling that because Baby Dog kept that account going while Malcolm was recuperating, and he tweeted every day and he kept everybody up to date with what was going on, it felt as though it should be time to add him to the name. Yes, so Malcolm and Baby Dog. And I threw it open to the followers. What do you think? And it was a resounding yes. So that's why he's there.
And how are those two relating now? How has that recovery period been? Well, Malcolm was recovering for Baby Dog. And not just because I remember it's like he was waiting for Malcolm to come out the cage, but then that sort of Malcolm's still weak period.
Yes. And he has, he's much, I think Baby Dog, he's much gentler with Malcolm now than he was. He used to be a bit boisterous, let's say. He's still a bit boisterous, but he doesn't like with beds, bed gate we call it, and now sleigh gate we're having with this sleigh that he's got. In the old days, baby dog would have pulled him around in it, and now he doesn't. He just, there's a few attempts to tip him off, but then okay, all right, you win. Whereas, in the old days, he would have pulled him around. So yes, I think maybe he understands, after everything that Malcolm's been through, that he needs to be a bit more patient. And obviously now we've got baby Ralph on the scene, and baby dog is having to come to terms with him and understanding him, and he's a young cat, so it's been a learning curve.
Why bring Ralph? Why bring another animal in?
Well, I didn't bring him in. He invited himself in.
Oh, it's one of those cats, is it?
Yes. I mean, he belongs to our neighbours, and he's not ours. And he appeared on the scene just before Malcolm's accident. And he was hanging around Malcolm all the time outside. And then obviously Malcolm had his accident, wasn't going out, and then baby Ralph, actually, we hadn't seen him for a while, and we checked with the neighbours, and he'd fallen out of a tree and broken his leg. So he was recuperating inside for quite a long time. Since he came back out, because he has returned to being an outdoor cat, he has just been inviting himself in here a lot. And he's not here at the moment, but the last few days he's been here a lot. I can't keep him out. Open the door to let baby dog out into the garden, and Ralph zooms in. Took up possession of the sleigh, which I think baby dog was more put out about the sleigh being used than Malcolm was. Malcolm's all about sharing with baby Ralph. He's happy with that. But yes, he's here a lot. And in the end, we have to put him out. Go home, Ralph.
It just sounds like a wonderful Christmas house. It sounds like a wonderful house, but at this time of year, to have the extra joy of Christmas on top of everything else must feel so wonderfully comfortable.
Yes, it's lovely. They complete our family, obviously, and Christmas is just as much about them as it is about the children. And they've got their stockings, which we'll be hanging those up on Christmas Eve, and they've got their Christmas toys. And they've been receiving Christmas cards from followers, which is just lovely. So thank you out there if you've sent them a Christmas card. That's just lovely.
Yeah, because you do have that huge community online as well.
Yes,
oh, quick question. Do you support a football team?
I don't, but my husband supports Chelsea.
Ah, right. That's handy, because I have a list. Because you were talking there about the size of the community and how sometimes it's really hard to reply to all of them.
Yes.
Here's the interesting thing. I've looked at your follower count, and it's 41,100-ish.
Right.
Stamford Bridge's capacity is 41,600.
No way.
So I want you to imagine yourself standing in the middle of Stamford Bridge with Malcolm, and you saying, "I'm sorry, I can't reply to every single one of you individually."
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Do you know what? It's funny. My daughter, my youngest, Daisy, I've never said her name in public before. Her name's Daisy. She's the little one. She said to me, "Mummy, you should do a meet and greet." And it's something that's been going round and round in my head. Obviously, we have followers from all around the world who can't, come. But there are also people, nearer who might like to come, and it goes around and round in my head about how I could possibly do that. Maybe we should hire Stamford Bridge.
You just need a friendly. We just have all the Chelsea team and a whole bundle of cats and dogs and one of those big footballs that they can push around with their nose.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? It would be so nice to meet some of our followers face to face. We've got some really lovely, loyal ones who have been with us since the beginning, and they comment every day, and they're so supportive and so lovely. And I often think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to meet them all face to face?
Well, you're going to need a really, really big stadium.
Yes.
But I think that just shows how much love there is for Malcolm, for Baby Dog, for Ralph, who pops up occasionally, and your whole household just giving them all the love they want. That's Christmas, isn't it?
It is. And it's a really good opportunity for me to say Merry Christmas to everybody, if I may.
Only if I get to say a happy hogmanay at the end.
Oh, of course, because you're in Scotland, aren't you?
Yeah, Christmas is just a warm-up for us.
No, absolutely. It's all about New Year.
Well, Caroline, thanks very much for coming on to tell us the next part of Malcolm's story. As always, the stories that we tell of the cats here are only just part of the story. The stories continue. You can find people on Facebook, on Twitter, on Hurdle Pile, on Tumblr, or whatever your big social networks are. But wherever there are cats, and wherever there are cats, there are people, and wherever there are people around cats, there are love. And that's really what we're celebrating on this podcast this year and into next year. Caroline, for your story, and for everybody who's been on the podcast and all their stories, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Lovely to see you again.
You've been listening to My Cat's Tale, a Spence Media production. Listen to more tales of our perfect pets at mycatstalepod.com and support us on Patreon.